So the last time we met, we looked at exit tickets for determining if 2 points were on the same line. And we ultimately realized the gap was that students weren't organizing their workspace. And when you retaught it, I just looked, mastery went from 43 to 67%. So what specific actions did you take in that reteach that made that mastery raised by 24%?
Not only the organizing workspace, but we also did that workshop day. That was huge. I think that was the big win, is like, these are really long problems. You need more time to practice it. The day of was like a 50-minute day, so it was like a model, a practice problem, and it was like the exit ticket, which like barely fit in. So just having that day of like workshopping, like, y'all need to be more organized, these are long problems. And then you need to try practicing a lot.
Specifically when you're reteaching the part about organizing your workspace though, what was the key difference between when you were teaching how to organize their workspace and whenever you originally taught it?
We wrote all the work next to each answer choice.
And labeled, like, this is the work for A, this is the work for B, this is the work for D. Awesome. So today we're going to dive into the standard AF 706, which is given an equation or a function. Find an equation or function whose graph is a translation by specified amounts in the horizontal and vertical directions. So 15 kids on the bubble missed 1, and 9 missed number 2. I have a quick hit for number 2 we can talk about after this, but we're going to focus on number 1 for now. So let's look at your exemplar. Your no and do statements were spot on, but they were like the exact, like, you had more than I had. So let's dive into some exemplars. So if you look at yours, what are the keys to your exemplar?
So I was looking for this annotation of like, this has been moved right 3 units. So in the inside of the absolute value, we know that it's x minus 3. I did an extra step when I taught this to kids, which was to list out the vertex. And told them, like, you can just say the vertex is whatever, and then say, okay, so it'll be x minus x value plus the y value.
Awesome. So Zacchaeus. Zakiah. I know one is Zakia and one is Zakiah. The one with the hyphen is Zakia? Okay, I was actually going to ask you that. Alright, so what does hers offer that yours does not? I think you already just said
she listed the vertex in the stretch, right. Which was part of my thinking steps of my model. I don't know why that's not in my exemplar.
And then let's look at mine. What does mine offer that both yours and Zakiah's do not?
Yeah, labeling that function can be powerful. And then listing vertex HK.
Okay, so the difference on mine is I put the setup for the function.
Formula, sure.
Yep, the formula. Great. So let's take a look at these bubble students. These were the 15 kiddos who got number 2 right but missed number 1. And what is and looking at the flow of the students' work, what is the critical gap between their work and the steps in my exemplar?
So they didn't write the formula? Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. If you write the formula, they'll have that minus thing, which I've never taught it like that. That does make.
And what
I
is
think that's an anchor chart move too, that we could, having students memorize that vertex form, like they've memorized slope-intercept form, would hugely move the bar down on this, but also on quadratics.
Right. Because the students actually did kind of the hard part. They identified, like, when I was looking through all these, almost every single kiddo, actually every single one in the stack identified the vertex correctly and identified the stretch correctly. But because they did not write down the formula, what was the impact?
They put +3, so -3.
Right. Or +1, which was the stretch. They put it in the wrong spot.
I was wondering where the 1 was coming from.
They plugged it in the wrong spot.
I was like, why did you put +1?
And the 0, they were plugging in the wrong. There are some students who put
+0
+3 because they didn't know the equation. There are some students who put 1, which is the stretch, and there are some people who put 0, which is the second part, okay, because they were improperly plugging it in. So let's stamp it. What's the key student error and why is it happening?
So students are substituting the vertex incorrectly and the stretch incorrectly into the formula because they're not writing the formula down.
Yep. I'm going to give you a piece of paper to write this down so you can plan a little reteach.
I've got my coaching binder.
Sweet. I didn't print you off a piece of paper because I forgot, but I have this. Would you like a piece of notebook paper?
Sure.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Monday. Well, I'll have to poke holes in it for you later, but there you go. same but flipped. So students are not writing a proper equation given a graph of an absolute value function because they are not writing out / do not understand the setup of the equation. I believe it's the writing out, but students are not writing a proper equation.
The formula? Or they're not writing the correct equation because they're not writing the formula?
I wrote it as students are not writing a proper equation given a graph of an absolute value function because they are not writing out the formula.
Sure, that makes sense to me.
Great. So mastery on this, you had mastery as 22%, but I actually think it's 38%. You had 71, you had...
Oh, I didn't update this bottom one.
Yeah, so it's actually a little
Sorry.
bit higher, but still 38%, so what's the best method for
So
reteaching?
modeling.
Great.
Mhm.
So walk me through the steps you're gonna take, what's gonna be different.
So I think having an anchor chart, naming explicitly like we have identified the vertex, we've identified the stretch correctly, but we are incorrectly plugging these into the formulas, we're not writing the formula down.
Perfect.
And then writing the formula down, saying every time you're asked to write an equation for an absolute value, write the formula down.
Great, okay, so let's write that down. I think you could model with this problem
Sure.
and then take and find 2 others for them to practice real quick. They're doing the heavy lifting here, they're just not plugging it in correctly.
Right.
So
And it's the
really-
mistake you expect to see, which is annoying because it's like, oh man, I thought I was ready for that. All right. Do you want me to practice?
Write out what you're gonna say,
Mm-hmm.
and then I want you to practice. I erased some English stuff for you to practice.
Cool.
Awesome. So let me take a look before we practice it. Okay. Alright, go ahead and we're gonna practice up here on the board. I'm trying a new method for filming. Shoot, I don't know if it's gonna let me.
Cool. You ready?
Yep.
So this is an anchor chart I'm gonna build before class starts. I'm gonna reference it during this model so that students get in the habit of like looking at it. After passing back, they'll all have this problem in front of them. So what I wanna say is, guys, mastery on this X ticket was 39%, but when I dug into why mastery was so low, it was all because we were doing like the heavy lifting. We were able to identify the vertex and the stretch, and we were doing that correctly, but then we were plugging those numbers into the formula incorrectly. And I think that's happening because we were not writing this formula down. So as I model, I want y'all to notice that after I write, like, am reading the question, I'm gonna write this formula down first before trying to write the actual equation. So, first thing, just like y'all did, I identify the vertex, 3, 0. And I identify the stretch is 1. I'm super pumped because most of us had that already. That's a really big win for us. But where am I going to plug in these 3 numbers? I'm going to write down the formula for an absolute value function. And know this is an absolute value because that characteristic V shape, the stretch A times absolute value x minus h plus k, just like y equals mx plus b is a formula for a straight line, this is the formula for an absolute value function, where the vertex is h, k. So now that I've actually written this formula, substituting things in makes it a lot easier. F of x will equal the stretch, 1, times the absolute value of x minus h, which is 3, plus k, which is 0.
Great. What is the key difference between this and how you
Now I
wrote
have
the
to
first
write this
one?
down.
Perfect. All right, so when is this happening?
It'll have to be Thursday. I really don't have time outside of that. I
Okay.
do wonder, I kind of feel like having a different function to model might be powerful because this vertex has 1, 0, and like dealing with something that's like negative isn't like if the vertex was here,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Because then you do minus negative whatever. Or do
I
you-
can see that, yeah.
You know what I
so you
mean?
can model it with a negative and then give that one for one of their practice.
Yeah,
That's fine.
is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
I just think that that's going to be,
Because they get sloppy with negatives, so that makes sense.
right.
Yep, for sure. So Thursday it's happening. I have a list of the GAP students, and so what I want to see after Thursday is whether the GAP students have mastered it or not. Is there room on your exit ticket to pop one on there like that again, or does it make sense to do like a little
You're
kind of
taking a
summary sheet?
quiz that day. I could add it into the quiz. Or no.
If they have time, you could do that, or you could do it as one quick question before the
They could be part of the.
one quick question before the.
I have
quiz.
time to do it before teaching that day.
That's fine.
Like during the do not pass out the exit tickets.
Do it, and on a little half sheet they can do their try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so model, I think you can make a little half sheet for this reteach,
Okay.
for the model, and then the 2 on their own.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that'll be a quick pulse check whether those kids got it or not.
Yeah. So does it look like model, try to, new exit ticket question?
Mhm.
Great. I think that can probably be done in like 10 minutes.
Yep, I agree.
And I'll make it line up with